The next step in assembling the Lone Star unit is we take all of our trimmed pieces and we separate them out. One stack for SS1, a stack for SS2, and a stack for SS3. And place them all facing the same way. And in this stack for SS1, all of the unit names are readable. So place them all facing the same so you could read unit SS1. Do the same thing for SS2 and SS3. Now we have 3 stacks. What you'll do next is start with SS1, flip it over. Then take SS2 and flip it over. Now we're going to take and line up the 2 seam allowances. These 2. Line them up in diagonal order. Then flip up SS3. Flip over SS3. And line it up. You see it's a diamond shape. Sort of right now, but once we've stitched them together, you'll see the true diamond. We're going to take the SS1 at the bottom and take the SS2 and flip the SS2 over, and we're going to match, we're going to stitch along this line. This is a close-up. I flipped unit SS2 over on top of SS1, and we're going to stitch across this top line. And how we do that, we're going to take a pin and place it on this seam line right here, up against the seam line that we've already stitched on line 1. So here's what we've done. Here's the seam line where the 2 pieces of fabric are stitched together. And here's the seam line we're going to stitch on now. And I'm going to place my pin right up against that seam line. And then if I flip this over, I can see the pin. It's hard to see, but there's the pin, and it's right in the ditch between those 2 fabrics. It's a little bit hard to see because they're the same fabrics, but that's where it is. So we've got it at the intersection of the 2 seams here, and it's in the ditch here. Then let's pick up SS1, and this is the first line here. This is the stitched line is here, and here's the line we're going to stitch at the top. We're going to place our pin in this ditch between the 2 fabrics, and let's flip it over, and it should be at this intersection here. So we'll have to move this up. So there, it's a little bit closer. And the main thing you want to do is get it on this horizontal line. Just make sure it's on that horizontal line and against the ditch right here. So let me move it over just a little bit and see what that looks like. So it looks like this is as close as I'm going to get. I'm on this horizontal line that I'm going to stitch on, and I'm right up against the ditch where the previous stitching was. So here's kind of what it looks like. Putting these 2 together like this. Okay, and then hold them together, line up the tops, and make sure the pin is perpendicular to the fabric. See, it goes straight through. And then with your edges, your top edges lined up and your pin perpendicular, you're just going to take a little bitty bite of the fabric and pin it in there together. Then we'll go to the next seam line right here. Take another pin and do the same thing. We put it on this seam line up against the ditch of this fabric on the top. So there it is in the ditch on the 1/4 inch seam line. And now we're going to guess where the 1/4 inch is. Let's try right here and see what it looks like. And that's pretty close, but let's move it up just a little bit. So I'm going to move it up in the seam line. Check the back. So it's right there. It's right on the seam line here, and it's right up against this stitching, previous stitching. So again, we're going to look at it like this. Make sure it's perpendicular, edges are top even, and then pin. We have lined up the top edge, and we've got our pins in place. And when we stitch on this stitching line, we should get perfectly matching points at these two intersections. And also, if you'll see what we've done with the smart corners, you see where it has been cut off here should even up with this angle here. Sometimes with the paper in here, it's hard to line it up right, but line it as close as you can, and then we'll start stitching here on this line, and when we come to this pin, we'll take it out, take the pin out right before we get to there, and keep stitching on this line all the way across. When you get to this pin, take the pin out, or if you're like to live dangerously, leave your pin in, and then stitch all the way to this end. And here again, this angle matches this angle here on the smart corner we've cut out. And you'll see it better on yours than you can in this video because these are so small. You see how the smart corner right here at the top lines up with this angle here. And that's what you'll do when you bring it to your machine. And once you have the two pins in and you've got your sides, smart corners lined up pretty well, or you know that they're going to line up pretty well when you get to your machine, flip it over, and you're going to remove the papers from SS1. You always remove the papers after you've pinned. You always remove the papers from the bottom, from the unit that's on the bottom, because we need the papers here when we attach SS2 to SS3. We need the papers to line up these two pins. So once you're happy with it, then you turn it over, and we're going to take the papers off of SS1. Okay. You always tear away from the seam line. It makes the tear easier. Now you'll flip this over, take it to the machine. We're going to match the smart corner here and stitch on the solid line, and as you come to these two intersections, you either take the pins out, or if you want to live dangerously, leave them in, and then stitch all the way to this edge and match up these smart corners on this edge. Once you've finished stitching SS2 to SS1, then you flip it over, and later on you'll be pressing towards SS1. So fold the fabric towards SS1 and then check your seams here. They will probably be just slightly off because the paper is there. But if we zoom in, we want these points to match here. We want to have a nice straight matching point, and all four should come to a point. The same thing as here. It's hard to see on here, but all your points should match. And if your points are off just a little bit and you're fine with it, it's okay. I know you've heard the saying, can you see it from a galloping horse? But if it bugs you, you can, at this point, rip out about an inch on either side of this intersection and try to reposition it. But I have found, especially with these, that even if you rip out and redo it, it's not going to be much better. So unless it's very far off and it really bugs you, then I would leave it. But it's your choice, it's your quilt. You do what you feel you're more comfortable doing. But I have ripped these out to make the intersections line up. They just look better. So check that before you go on to stitch your next one.